Hi guys, so this evening I'm going to be imaging Pleiades. It's also known as the Seven Sisters. I actually started imaging it last night because it was available. I got 1 hour of data on it. It came out okay. And I want to get some more because there's some fascinating nebulae around it. So it's a reflection nebulae that comes off of the stars. So obviously Pleiades is known as the Seven Sisters because there's 7 stars, but you could count 7, 8, and 9. It depends on what you class as the stars that you're counting, really. But there's definitely some kind of major large stars there. It's a star cluster. It's one of the nearest star clusters to Earth. So I'm going to be capturing some more data on that, hopefully bringing out more of the nebulae. So this will also show you the difference between 1 hour of data and 2 hours of data. So we're shooting over multiple nights. We use the tools in Nina to be able to realign our telescope to exactly the same position as yesterday, so everything should line up. And I'm just going to carry on from basically where I left off yesterday. We're going to image another 1 hour of data, 60-second exposures, 60 exposures, and we've got a gains set to 110. I'm dithering every 4 frames. Camera set to -5 degrees. And so all of our bias and flats that we took yesterday will still be valid. So I'm just going to reuse the same ones. So we'll see a before and after basically. So you'll see the difference between 1 hour of data and 2 hour of data on the same target. So I'm going to continue my imaging on Pleiades. I've got an hour the first night. I got around another 25 minutes last night before the clouds came in. I'm going to try and capture another hour today. So every evening I'm just going to keep on capturing more and more on Pleiades and keep on building it up and see if we can bring out more of that nebulosity. The image so far is still a little bit noisy. Actually, the image from the first night was better if you're talking about the kind of just the stars, but then pulling out the nebulosity, I think I overstretched the image. So I need some more data so we can stretch it less, get a better signal to noise. And so hopefully this evening we'll be able to get that done. So I'm just setting everything up now. We'll get polar aligned and hopefully we can get another hour on Pleiades. Okay, so I'm just doing my usual procedure now. I'm getting my 3-point polar alignment done in Nina. So takes an image, slews, takes another image, slews, takes another image. So we're on our 3rd image now, and then it will tell us what our adjustment should be. There you go, it's capturing the last image, solving, and now it gives us our total adjustment. So we've got to move quite a bit. You see the error is quite large, so we need to move 5 down, and we've got quite a large amount here. So our altitude is okay, but our azimuth needs adjusting. 2 degrees 48 to the right. So we'll go over and make that adjustment now. So I made the adjustment, and now I'm slewing back onto target. We'll do one more polar alignment, as our first one was quite far out. So now we've got it closer. We'll run it again. So this is just going to, first of all, center back up on Pleiades, and then we'll start our 3-point polar alignment process again. Once it gets lined up here. And then, as you see there, there's Pleiades. So it's a really easy target to show up, get focused on. It's a good beginner target. Although it's easy to find, but it's not so easy to image if you just want the stars. But if you want that nebulae that's around it, it can be a bit tricky. Okay, so now we go back over to imaging. And we'll do our 3-point polar alignment, starting from here. We hit play. It's going to take an image, do what I just said, it will solve. 3 points, and we'll see this time our error should be a lot smaller, and that means our adjustment will be more accurate as we have a kind of better starting point. And once we get all of this done, then we'll get back up there onto Pleiades, focused and imaging. So we're going to be shooting through our UV IR filter. I'm doing that to try and cut some of the star bloating, because we don't want too much of that star coming through. We want more of the nebulosity that's behind it. Okay, so there we go, our error now. Our total error is 48 seconds, 48 minutes, 20 seconds. So small adjustments, mostly to the right, a little bit down, and then we should be good. Okay, we've got a pretty good polar alignment now. 2 minutes, 40 seconds. And now let's get up on target and get focused. Okay, so we're on target. There's Pleiades. This is coming through our guide camera. I'm just going to do the calibration now. So I've started PhD calibrating, and while it's doing that, we will get focused up. So I'm going to use my Batinov mask. Really useful tool for focusing. Where is it? Over here. So we put this over the front of the objective lens, and it's going to make a star pattern, some spikes on the stars, and we line up the spike to the middle, and then we know we're in focus. So pretty much we're still in focus from yesterday. You see here, our star spike is right in the middle there. That's how you want it to be. You want this to be in the middle. That means we're pretty well in focus. So we're all good. As soon as our PhD calibration is done, we will start the sequence. Okay, so we just started the imaging sequence now. I'm going for 120-second exposures this time. So I'm going to combine my first 2 nights where I had 60-second exposures. I'm going to combine that data together again and not stretch it quite so much. So that'll be the stars, and then the exposures I'm doing this evening, the stars are probably going to be a little bit washed out, but I'm hoping that I'm going to get more of the nebulosity with the longer exposure. So we're going to have 2 hours, 120-second exposures, so 60 exposures, 2 minutes each, and we'll try and combine that data together. So we have our shorter exposures for the stars and a longer exposure for the nebulosity, and hopefully that will conclude, for now, our Pleiades imaging project. And maybe in 6 months, 12 months, we'll revisit this target, do it again, and see how our skills have improved. So I do use live stacking here. This is Deep Sky Stacker Live. So it monitors a folder and it just shows you the stacked image. It gives you a total exposure time. So here we've got, so far, we've just got another image coming in now. So up to 26 minutes now of total exposure. So what we've got coming in here, you can see our stars are nice and sharp, so our guiding is good. You can also see over here in PhD. But now we got this cloud coming in. You see our guiding's been okay, but since these clouds keep blowing over, and every time one comes over, we get this spike here in our graph, and you see them blowing across there. But I'm hoping these are just going to blow over and disappear and not going to cause us too much pain this evening. You can see here every time a cloud has come past, basically. So this was pretty bad. I'm expecting our stars in this image to be a little bit wobbly. It's not going to be too good, so we'll probably be throwing that one away. Let's go back over to Deep Sky Stacker Live. So another thing you can see here is your image list, and you can see which ones have been stacked and which ones were thrown away. So far everything's been stacked. It doesn't look too bad. And then we can go over into Nina and we can see the last image that came in. So the image that's coming in now was 78% done. I think this might be the one that we maybe will end up throwing away. We'll probably see some wiggly stars there from that blip in the tracking. So we'll just wait a few more moments, and we'll take a look at that image when it comes in. We'll see what Deep Sky Stacker thinks of it. So 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99. Okay, we're 100% done with that image. Let's go into D-Bayer and then come in. And yeah, you see a little bit blurry, not quite as pin sharp as the others. We're shooting through the clouds and it's kind of hazy as well. So that's an image that maybe we're going to throw away, I'm not sure. We'll see later on. Let's go back over to our tracking and see how that's going. So it's clear again now, so I was right. I think those clouds have blown over, and hopefully it will now remain clear for the rest of our imaging session. I do have a lot of clouds to contend with here in the Philippines. It's humid. It's not ideal astrophotography conditions, so it does make things a little bit more tricky. It's very rare that we get kind of a cold, clear night. Our ambient air temperature is 22 degrees. That's about as cold as it gets here. We're in January, so about as cold as I can get. My camera equipment is down to -5. I'm using 77% of my cooling power already. So it's not ideal conditions, but it's good enough. It's one of the challenges of the hobby. You make do with what you've got, and you try to work with the conditions that nature gives you. Okay, guys. So now we're going to take a look at how we edit it. So we've got 3 nights of imaging on the Pleiades. The first night we had around an hour. The second night we got 25 minutes, and last night we got another 25 minutes-ish, 30 minutes. So we've got around 2 hours of exposures. Now the first hour and a half were 60-second exposures, and then the second kind of half an hour were 120-second exposures. Ideally, I would have had another hour or 2 of the 120-second exposures to bring out some more of that nebulosity, but the clouds came in. So this is our progress so far. I'm going to show you how I edit this and put it together. And if it's clear tonight, then maybe I can get another half an hour or so of the 120-second exposures. Now, Deep Sky Stacker is able to automatically sort things out when you've shot over multiple nights. Deep Sky Stacker is on my other laptop. I'm just going to show you how I edit it here. But basically, you can take all of your lights that are 60 seconds with your 60-second biases, 60-second darks, and then you can take all of your 120-second exposures with 120-second darks, and flats if you're using them as well, and it will sort them out, group them together by their exposure lengths, and kind of stack them all, and it takes care of all that for you. So I'm not showing that part right here, but basically at the end of all of that, you're going to end up with a output file, which I've got in here, which is my FTS file here, and I'm going to open this now in PixInsight. Okay, so this is our kind of final stack from Deep Sky Stacker of our combination 120-second exposures, 60-second exposures, shot over multiple nights with our bias and darks. I haven't shot any flats. Okay, so this doesn't look like great, although you can see here the Pleiades stars, these points of light. So the first thing we're going to do is open up a screen transfer function. So I've got my process icons down the side here. If you don't have that set up in PixInsight, you can find screen transfer function under processes, and they're all here in alphabetical order. These are all the different functions. So you want this here, STF, screen transfer function. All right. Now, if we, I usually uncheck this linked because otherwise it gets this green tinge to it, which I don't want. So we uncheck the linked and we do this stretch. So when you do a screen transfer function, this is only not affecting the image. This is just what you see on the screen. This is all non-destructive editing. Okay. So we do an STF, and this just helps us to kind of see what we've got. Now you can see as we shot over multiple nights, and also as well when the clouds came in, I had some issues with guiding. Deep Sky Stacker has aligned everything up, but not everything's perfect. So the first thing we're going to do is go with a crop. So we'll open our dynamic crop here, and we're going to crop this, get rid of these edges, and straighten everything up and get everything framed properly. So we'll come in at the side here, and up from the bottom here. Okay, so now we've got that done. There's now our image that we're working with. So the next thing I am going to do is I use a script called Gradient Expert. Okay, so I'm going to use that, and what this is going to do is just tidy up our background and get rid of any gradient. Now I was shooting this, as I say, we had clouds that came over, so they affect our background. We had a full moon to contend with, so that can also affect your background. So you end up with highlights and banding and things on your background that we want to get rid of. So we're going to run this Gradient Expert first. And at first it's not going to look that great. You know, okay, you can see here now we've got some of the nebulosity coming out, but our background doesn't look like great anymore. You can see here we also had 2 dust motes, but we'll take care of those later. Okay, but we do have a lot of detail here in the nebulosity, which is nice, and we've got our stars. Now I want to edit this separately. I want to edit the nebulosity and I want to edit the stars separately. Okay, but before I get on to doing that, I'm going to first of all go to our scripts again, and we'll go to image analysis and we'll go to image solver. Now what this is going to do is it's going to like plate solve the image. So it's going to detect the stars, it's going to figure out which part of the sky this is a picture of. And you might wonder why I want to do that. Well, it's because I'm going to use a color correction technique called the chromatic, I think it's called chromatic color correction. We'll see in a moment when this is finished. So this takes a few moments to run, and then we'll use that. So what it will do is it will compare our image, now the software knows what this is an image of, to a database of stars and the kind of color that those stars should be. Okay, so different stars are different colors depending on their age, depending on what chemicals they're burning, which is like how far through their cycle they are, what type of stars they are. Okay, if we want a kind of correct color representation, then we would need to know what color those actual stars should be, what bandwidth of wavelength of light it is that they are burning. So as I don't know that off the top of my head exactly, although I've seen enough pictures of Pleiades, I know that it should be a kind of bluish color for the main stars, but there's lots of other stars in this image. So it will then compare to a database of these stars, their known RGB kind of values, or the wavelengths of light that they're running, burning, and then it will colorize those stars to be kind of scientifically correct, which, although we're working here on kind of a piece of art, astrophotography is a kind of art in a way, but also as well I want to try and be somewhat scientifically accurate with what these stars are. So as I say, it takes a few moments for this to run. So there we go. Now it's finished. Okay, so now we've got a plate solved image. We know where it is, and now we're going to go over to process, color calibration, photometric color calibration. There we go. We'll just leave all this stuff on the defaults and we'll run this. And again, this will take a few moments to run. And then we'll be back in a moment when this is finished. Done. It gives you this graph here, which is your white balance functions. I don't really understand all of this, but anyway, you can see now that the if we close this, the stars here now have some kind of different hues to them, depending on their age. These are now kind of more accurate. So you can see here we've got our bluer stars in Pleiades, and we've also got some more yellow kind of colored stars there in the background. So having this just adds some interest to the image as well. Not only is it scientifically accurate, but also it adds some interest to the image, adds some more colors there. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run these 3 paid plugins here. So these are really useful plugins. So the first one here is Noise Exterminator. These are available from RC Astro. And for this image, it's quite noisy because I don't have really as much integration time as I would like. So I'm going to run this quite high. Now, it can be quite strong, but let's bring this down to 45 from the default of 90. Now, the thing is you can run it more than once if necessary. So I'm going to run it this one time. And if I feel like it still needs it again, then we will run it for a second time. So let's just zoom in here and take a look. Okay, let's run this for a second time and just see the difference it makes. I don't want this to get too soft here. I don't want it to be too soft, but it's looking okay. Okay. So now we're going to run Blur Exterminator. So Blur Exterminator is also a paid plugin from RC Astro. This is going to sharpen up our stars a little bit. So if I zoom in on them, you'll see here partly because we had some clouds coming over every now and again. We do have these kind of little bit halos around now. I prefer my stars to be a little sharper, so we're going to adjust the halos a little bit. And let's run this. And you'll see when this is done, the difference it will make to the stars here. They'll just become a little bit smaller, a little bit sharper, and remove some of these halos a little bit. So it's a subtle change, but there is a change there. You see, the stars have got a little bit more pinpoint there in the background. Okay? Now the next thing I'm going to do is Star Exterminator. Now we're not going to actually exterminate the stars. We don't want to remove them. But what I want to do is remove them from this image and put them on a separate image. I want to be able to edit the stars and the nebulae separately. One thing is, if I start adjusting curves and so on here now to the whole thing, it's also going to start affecting the stars. And I don't want to change the color of the stars, because now these have got their proper scientific color that we did through the photometric color calibration. So we're going to generate a star map and unscreen the stars. And this is going to remove the stars and separate them into almost like another layer. If you're familiar with Photoshop, it's almost like having now a star layer and a nebulae layer. In fact, later on when we go into Photoshop, that's exactly what we're going to be doing. So we run Star Exterminator. It's going to strip all those stars out and put them on their own layer. There we go. So now we have the stars. And we have our nebulae. So now, close up Star Exterminator. We'll minimize these stars for the moment. Now we still have our screen transfer function turned on. This is way overstretched. You see we've got a lot of black there and everything. So I'm going to turn off screen transfer function. And the next thing we are going to run is this, a generalized hyperbolic stretch. This is another, this is a free tool that you can download, free plugin for PixInsight, generalized hyperbolic stretch. And we're going to start off with a linear stretch. And we're going to zoom in on our histogram here. And I'm going to pull this across until I begin to clip, and then back it off a little bit. So we see here is the low point clip. See here, LCP. If we drag this across too far, you'll see we start to clip. And we don't want to clip. That means that we're clipping data. We're kind of removing data from the image, and we don't want that. So you have to be kind of careful with this. And just before it starts to clip, we don't want any clipping at all. Just before it starts to clip is where we'll stop. So what we're doing here is setting our black point. This is our low point. Okay. So once we've done that, we will go ahead and apply this. We should open up a preview. There's a preview of what's going on. And now we're going to change from linear, so we'll reset to a generalized hyperbolic stretch. And you'll see here we've got this gray. This is where all of our data, or RGBs, are all overlapping. We're going to click and draw this yellow line somewhere around, zoom in a bit more, somewhere around the midpoint of this gray here. Okay? Then we go send to set point. And now we're going to go over to our stretch factor, and we're going to drag this over to the right. Now I don't care about what's going on my histogram here. I care about my preview image. So you can see here we're now beginning to stretch it, and we don't want to stretch too far. That's what happens if we overstretch our data, and it just becomes super noisy. But we need to drag it over enough that we start to bring out as much of the detail as we want in this nebulae. Now we don't have to do it all in one go. We can do multiple stretches. So I'm just going to bring it this far for the moment. Now there's something down here called local intensity. See if we adjust that, it decreases the intensity of some of those brighter parts, and then that allows us to stretch a little bit more. Okay, so once I'm done with this, we go send to, we run this, and that will now apply that. We reset again. Now this time, we're going to make our set point a little bit further over to the right. So we'll clip somewhere over here, send to set point, and the same thing now. We're going to run this stretch again. That's going to bring out some more detail there. Oh, wait a minute, sorry. Before we do that, we can run in the linear and set the black point again. Okay, so we're over here on linear again. We drag this across just before the low clip. Same as before. Okay, so couldn't move that very far, but we'll apply that. And yeah, now again, generalized hyperbolic stretch, make our set point somewhere over here, and then pull across our stretch factor, and it's going to bring out some detail there again in nebulae. Again, we don't want to go too far and overdo that, so just about there is probably enough. We'll increase our local intensity a little bit, and you can see if we move the set point a little bit further over to the right, I can get that background just a little darker again. Okay, so I'm happy with this now. I'm going to apply that, close up generalized hyperbolic stretch, and we'll close up our preview here. So this is our Pleiades nebulae. Okay, so we're going to save this now. So we're going to save as. I'm going to make a new folder here. We'll call this the Pleiades combination image. Okay, so this is our images from the January the 25th, 24th, and 27th, 2024 on Pleiades, and this is our nebulae. And we'll save this as a TIFF file. (16 bits). No compression. Okay. So that's now saved that. So now we're done with our nebulae layer in PixInsight. We'll move that out of the way and we'll open up our star layer. Now we don't have so much to do to this, so this still has a screen transfer function stretch applied to it. We'll remove that and that will set everything back to as it was. Now we're going to open up our generalized hyperbolic stretch again. No need to set a black point this time. We just go straight away with a generalized hyperbolic stretch and we pull this over. And we're just going to stretch this. Oops, open up our preview. Just going to stretch this until we get our stars to the intensity that we want. Now, very easy. Again, we don't want to blow out these stars. Pleiades, these stars are very bright, and we don't want to blow those out. Same also with the background stars. If you go too far, they're just going to get ugly, you know, and they start to get star bloating and start to lose some of the color that we've got in those. So we just want to stretch it just enough. And we can use that local intensity again to bring down the intensity of the main stars there in Pleiades if we want to bring those down a little bit. And that allows us to stretch a little bit more and bring out some of the background. So we get it to just how we want it. I think I'm kind of happy with it like that. And then we will go to apply. We don't want to do that again. There we go. Okay, so here we have now our star image. All right. So we'll save this as our Pleiades stars. TIFF, 16-bit. Okay. Now we're done with that. We come over into Photoshop and we'll go to File, Scripts, Load Files into Stack. We're going to go ahead and find those two files that we just made, our stars and nebulae. Go OK. And what this will do is it will load them into Photoshop as two separate layers here. Alright, now we're just going to move the stars layer to the top and we'll create a group folder which we'll call Nebula, and we'll put the nebula into that folder, and we'll create another folder here called Stars, and we put this layer into there. Okay, so now we have our stars layer and our nebulae layer. We can turn off the stars layer for the moment. Before we do that, we'll change the blend mode from pass through to screen. See, this basically now is combining our stars and our nebulae image back together. So it already looks pretty good, but there's still a lot that we can do to improve this image. You can see we have still quite a lot of noise here in our background, mainly because I just didn't get enough integration time. So we've brought that noise out when we've done our stretching. Okay, but we're going to kind of sort out some of that here. We're also going to sort out this dust mote as well. Okay, so come down into, we'll select our nebulae image or nebulae layer. We go to adjustments, and I'm going to start off with a levels adjustment. And we go to the red channel, and we'll pull this across. We'll go to the green channel, and we'll pull this across, and you'll see we pull across our blue. It starts to darken that background a little bit. Helps just a little bit with that noise that we had there, okay? So you can see the difference before and after. So we just set our black point a little bit more, and it's helped to now bring out some of that nebulae and decrease a little bit of that background noise. Now we'll go and add another adjustment layer, and this is going to be a curves layer, okay? So we'll go to the red curves layer. We'll turn off the stars for now. So we're just affecting this layer, and we're going to apply a very slight curve to that on the red. A little bit there on the green. And of course, Pleiades has a lot of blue in it. But how blue you want to make it is kind of up to you. And I don't want to oversaturate the image so it starts to look kind of fake. I prefer a more natural kind of look. At the low end, we'll bring down that blue there at the low end. Maybe we just increase the intensity a little bit up here. So here, now bringing down the intensity of these colors at the lower end, you can see is helping with our background noise, but there is still some there. See around here, still some background noise there. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to try anyway, is let's create a stamp of this. So it's I'm using a Mac, so it's Shift Command Option E. That will create a new layer, which is a stamp of everything that we've got there. Okay, so now I've got that. I'm then going to go and get our lasso tool, and I'm going to draw a selection kind of around this. Like that. Okay, now we're going to go to select and inverse. So now I've selected everything that's outside of this nebula here, and then I'm going to go to modify and feather, and we're going to add quite a strong feather to this. Say 30 pixels is good. Okay, then we'll create a layer mask from this. Okay, so now we have a layer mask around there. We'll then open another adjustments, curves, and we'll click this button, so it's going to affect the layer directly below it. Now, see, we can pull this down. So everything that we're doing now is only going to affect what's in the white part of this layer mask. See here? So the black part is being masked, and everything that we're doing is only affecting the white area. So if we zoom in on this area here and we turn off what we just did, so you can see here there is this subtle noise here. It's there, it's very subtle, but if we turn this curves on, now because I've pulled down at this low end here, it's just got rid of that noise that's in the background there. So you see here's a before and after. Okay, so I'm quite happy with this now. We will go ahead and create another stamp, and I'll add another adjustments layer, and this is going to be hue and saturation. So we're going to adjust the hue, so you can see here, this way you can kind of choose the color you want, but I'm already pretty happy with the bluish, but I'm just moving it a little bit up so I get some reddish color starting to come out in this edge here. See there? Okay, saturation, I'm going to boost the saturation a little bit. I don't want to oversaturate the image, just a little bit. And our lightness, I'm just going to decrease just a tad. Okay, next I'm going to get a color balance. So I want to shift a little bit towards the red, a little bit up towards the green, and a little bit up towards the blue. So this is where the art really comes in. It's all down to you. It's down to your eye and how you want the image to look. So now I'm going to come over to our brightness and contrast. We're going to increase our brightness a little bit. I'm going to increase the contrast a little bit. Okay, now you can see this dust mote starting to come out. I'm going to deal with that now. So I'll go ahead and create another stamp. And I'm going to get our clone tool here. Option to select the area that we want to clone from. And then we'll just fill in this area here with the clone tool. And that will just tidy up that dust mote. Now we do have another one up here. There we go. Okay, so now we've got rid of our two dust motes. We've pretty much done now with this nebulae layer. I'll go ahead and open up the stars. Not much I want to do to this. What I'll probably do now is just add above here a final adjustment layer, which will be our vibrance. I'm going to increase the vibrance a little bit, increase the saturation a little bit, and there we go, pretty much. I think I'm good with this. I'm going to add an adjustment layer. I'm going to add an exposure adjustment layer here to the stars. I might just decrease the intensity of them a tad, not too much. See, I don't want them to be too bright. I don't want it to be too dark either. I mean, the stars are the feature of Pleiades, so it's just very, very subtle. Decrease in exposure. There we go. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this. So this is my workflow. So you can see here now, how I kind of manage, especially the bright stars here. The Star Exterminator is a really powerful tool, allows you to strip them out, really stretch the nebulosity. So it's very useful when you're working with bright stars and a faint nebulae, which is the hardest part of dealing with Pleiades, I think. Finding it is pretty straightforward. Focusing on it is pretty easy. It's one of the easiest targets to find in the sky, to get focused on, to capture. It's quite bright. But those nebulae are not so bright and harder to really bring out. So it's very difficult. In post-processing, you've really got to handle those stars correctly to stop them from blowing out. Now I have just noticed here I've got a little thing going on here underneath the stars. I'm not really sure exactly what caused that. So we're still in our see which layer that's on. So that's on the nebulae layer. I think a little bit on the stars here. So I'm going to use our heal tool, heal brush here. Nope. Oh, nebulae layer, let's try that on there. Nope, the heal tool isn't going to work very well on this, so we will go again with our clone stamp tool. Okay, so it's definitely on a star layer. Try the heal brush again with the other layer hidden. There we go. Okay, so that's got rid of that. I don't think we've got any more artifacts or issues that we want to get rid of. Nope, we're all good. Okay, so we'll go ahead and reveal our nebulae again. There we go. So I think here actually the nebula layer does have something. You see there's a mark there again. So we'll hide the stars. Use our heel brush again. Here we go. Okay. Excellent. All right, so there we go. That's our finished Pleiades image. So thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. If you found this useful, give me a thumbs up. And I'll see you in our next exploration of the cosmos.